Homer led the league in tackles with 85. The deep ball for Darius Prince, and Philadelphia's on the board first.
On the draw, this is Bryson Allen. And Allen weaving his way all the way down to the 22.
10-yard line, 5. Mayfield, Dancy, all around. Throw it as far as he can throw it. Jump ball coming. Crazy stuff. Not this time.
And you want to be a wide receiver, you're going to have to take a little bit of a hit like that as Brown got him in that shoulder, but watch. Those are teeth.
Do we have a dentist on staff here?
All right, we are back with another episode of Around the Indoor Football World, and I am joined by my always trusty co-host, TJ. TJ, how you doing this morning, man?
Doing good, man. Ready for all the leagues pretty much to kick off today. It's going to be awesome. How about you?
Definitely. Got one more week before the IFL, but that's okay. I still need time to pay for my membership, so we will definitely get to that topic today. I'm sure. That's kind of a sore subject among quite a bit of fans at the moment. But so definitely looking forward to this episode. If you guys didn't catch the tagline, this is Superfan Saturday, the first one we have ever done. So we are joined by some of the largest superfans in the sport. It's about time that we kind of give them their 15 minutes of fame, give them some camera time, introduce you guys to the people that are keeping these teams alive and thriving. And that's a big deal in indoor football, as you all know. Season ticket holders are often the lifeblood of every franchise. So we get to bring on a few of them today and give them a moment to kind of talk to us about their background, what makes them a super fan, why, their specific team, and kind of roll through it. The first one up, we're going to do the NAL this morning as the first segment. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and welcome on Mr. Brad Morelli, a.k.a. Fangus Kahn. How you doing this morning, Brad?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing great. Thank you once again for joining us. Super excited to talk to you today, and hopefully you enjoy yourself and we can get you back on in the future.
Absolutely.
But TJ, you want to kick off the questions, or you got anything you want to ask?
Yeah. Every super fan I see, I got to know, was it a slow build-up process to becoming the super fan, or did you just, jump right in and just show up decked out in gear from day one?
No, it was a slow process. So as you know, the Cobras came into Greensboro in 2018, and I'd watched arena football from back in the day, when it was on ESPN, and so I actually decided to go to my first game, and I instantly fell in love with it. And so throughout the 2018 season, I just kind of watched, and I'm like, there's got to be some way I can, connect with the fans that are here, the kids. And so that's how I came up with, the whole idea. So it was a little bit of a slow process and trying to figure out, what look I wanted to go for, because, I am a WWE fan. So I kind of went with the Road Warrior theme on the shoulder pads. Originally I had chrome on my, chrome spikes on there, but I'm like, the Coliseum's probably not going to let me in with those. So I had to change it up a little bit. So it's an ongoing process. I'm actually having more stuff added on this season. And so continue to build that look and have it just continue to get bigger and bigger.
I love that. So you started watching all the way back in the early 2000s when the original Cobras were around?
So in 2000, they used to actually be the original Cobras were in Raleigh. And I kind of knew about them, but then then after that, shortly here in Greensboro, they had the Prowlers, the Carolina Prowlers,
Gotcha.
And then they brought back the Cobras in 2018.
Definitely. Wookie Drives, thanks for tuning in as always, man. One of our more supportive fans. He says, hope to see you at a Cobras game this year, which I'm sure you'll be seeing Brad there. He seems to be on almost every stream that I've seen anyway. Brad, are you a season ticket holder?
I am. I have been since I went to my first game in 2018. Ever since then.
That's amazing. See, that's a big reason why we wanted to highlight the fans, because as we talked about, season ticket sales are hugely important for teams like this that keep them alive. And honestly, it's honestly the most underrated portion of indoor football, in my opinion, is the fans. This sport, unlike any other, really puts an emphasis on the people that are in the stands. And I really think that's a huge thing, bringing kids on the field afterward and all that stuff. So I think it's really kind of a cool aspect to kind of bring some fans on here and talk to you guys about your background, what got you into this place, that you are kind of contributing to the team. So to my knowledge, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the Cobras have a mascot, but is he like active walking around during games and stuff, or are you kind of the unofficial mascot?
No. So we have Savage, who is our mascot. And, he does, he comes out at the beginning and he'll tend to walk around during different parts of the game and interact with the fans and kids and stuff.
Gotcha. TJ, you got anything else?
That was kind of going to be my next question. Have they ever approached you about filling in for the mascot or being the mascot?
No, but I look at it this way. I'm willing to do whatever I have to do to make sure that people know about this team and put butts in the seats. We have the largest arena in the NAL at 18,000. So, if it's not semi-full or quarter full, it doesn't look good. But, our organization has done an extremely well job this year. And I'm excited. I think tonight is probably going to be our highest attendance. And I'm looking at like maybe 4,000 or 5,000 people, hopefully.
Very nice. So we're going to shift gears here a little bit. I wanted to ask you some questions about the team.
Sure.
As you know, Coach Brandon Negron has stepped back from his coaching role into the team president. And then Mike Bonner was promoted to head coach. Realistically, you had two former head coaches on the staff with him and Deron Clark. So, I mean, either way, you guys were pretty set up for success, even if Negron is focusing on team president role. But I'm curious, from a fan's perspective, how do you feel about that transition? I mean, I know fans tend to love Coach Negron. I mean, we love him here at Shady Sports. So, I mean, what are your feelings on this transition?
So I know Negron, and I know he is so passionate. He calls this his NFL. So I know it was tough for him to do, but at the same time, I think he, understands that in this business, you have to have a steady base for business. You have to have those, sponsors and other thing to keep the going. So I think for him to step back and take a role as president to continue strengthen the business of the organization to make sure that our organization stays in Greensboro for long term, I think was unselfish. And I think, he put the right guy in charge.
That's
Absolutely.
fair. TJ, you got any more questions?
No, just I just want to say, man, I love super fans, especially when you're watching the games on YouTube or a streaming service, just because it's just so engaging. And I just love what you do, man. It really ties the game in, and it really brings home the indoor arena fan first mindset.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And actually, my seats are actually right beside the opposing team's bench. So. I'm literally right there in the end zone, right beside their bench, and I make it very difficult for them to concentrate sometimes.
I love it.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, you kind of told us a little bit already, but what does a typical game day look like for you? Are you out in front of the arena tailgating beforehand, and what are you doing during the game, stuff like that?
So actually, we tailgate before the game. I go out there and we set up about 4:00, about 2 hours before every home game. We tailgate. I try to actually had cornhole boards made this season with the Cobra logo on it, so we have those. And then my typical, game day is once I go in the arena, I try to go into the foyer as fans are coming in, and just take pictures with kids if they want pictures. Some of the little kids aren't too sure about the outfit, but they tend to warm up eventually. But and then just typical game, during the game, I'm down on down on my seat, and I'm just running back and forth and trying to pump up the crowd every play. Try to keep them excited.
I love that. Do you have like a sign, or are you pretty much just strictly relying on your I don't even I want to call it like a uniform, but I mean,
Yeah, almost
costume
like
doesn't sound
I got
right.
the spikes with the shoulder pads there. So
Yeah,
I'm pretty
absolutely.
much that's pretty much what I do is just stick to this, and then I've actually had the opportunity last season to actually go out during team introductions with the team. So I got that opportunity as well. So it's and I can actually say that when I am out in public and not in uniform, I do get recognized.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Let me guess, Coach Negron had a role in you being able to come out with the team.
Yeah, he did. He did have a big role in that.
That does not surprise me. He is one of the most fan-centered coaches I've ever met, and honestly, he really understands that aspect of it, because I think, a lot of times you have a coach that's a former player or something like that, but with Coach Negron, I think he's honestly just a fan of the team as much as he is, involved in it.
Yeah, and absolutely. And he's a big community guy, huge community guy. And he feels like, without this community, we don't have, the ability to do that. So
Honestly, smart man for tapping into that, because as we mentioned in the lead up, arena fans are the lifeblood of these teams. Without the fans showing up to games, without them amped up, making the arena loud, it's just not the same. Honestly, I talk about it a lot on this show. I remember the first time I ever went to an arena football game, and it was a different atmosphere. Something about 20,000, roughly screaming fans in an arena, making it loud for the opposing team. It's just different, especially when you're seeing guys fly over the wall and everything
absolutely.
like that. So I wanted to get your thoughts on final cuts. I know the Cobras made some interesting cuts, some that I think probably surprised some people out there. I know Charles Brooks was let go. Arnell Anderson was let go. A couple other moves that kind of caught me off guard. Are there any moves that kind of stick out to you that you were really surprised by?
No, I mean, the Brooks move was a little bit surprising, but I think, from what I saw with our roster, it was probably a very, very tough decision because we do have a lot of talent on that. We brought in Jordan Barton from Omaha. We got Summers back. And our quarterback play is probably going to surprise a lot of people this year with Vincent Espinoza and Dom Schaffner.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see the quarterback position this season. Dom Schaffner, correct me if I'm wrong, is kind of a local guy, so I assume fans are pretty excited to see him out there eventually.
Yeah. He actually went to the University of Charlotte. He's a product of the University of Charlotte. That's
awesome. Can you touch on that a little bit? I mean, how important is it for you as a fan to see some guys that are, from North Carolina in general, whether it's college or if they played high school ball there?
I think it's vital to the business. I mean, having local guys, especially when you so-called have an off season of the NAL, and you still want to do things with the team, or the team wants to do things, having those local guys that are here and they can be present when the team's still trying to do things is very important to keep that fan base building and allow, people to put a name with a face. And especially here, with like James Summers, went to ECU, coaches at Page High School. He's always involved with stuff here. Joe Powell's another one that lives here locally that played with us and now has moved on to the UFL.
Agreed. Everybody loves Joe Powell. How can you not? He's kind of one of those many success stories coming out of arena football. A guy that honestly I've had a lot of interactions with, and is just a good dude. Sorry about that. My little Southwest Kansas Storm super fan over here is putting some stuff in my ears, but we'll talk about the AF1 here in a little bit. Real quick, I mean, what are your predictions for the team this season? I know you had a coaching change and everything, like you mentioned, Jordan Barton, Vincent Espinoza, a bunch of new faces on this roster. What are your thoughts for the team overall this season?
Look, what does every team want? Championship or nothing, right? That's what it's all about. This organization has won championship in 2018. We've been to 4 championship games in, 6 seasons. So the talent's there. It's like Coach Negron says, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. But this year, I got a feeling we're going to be the bride.
You definitely have a lot of people pulling for the Cobras this season, I believe. And I'm definitely one of them. Always like to see them find success, regardless of the fact that we've kind of parted ways on the show. We'll always be a fan of the people in that organization. They've always been really good to us. So I'm excited to see what this season holds for you guys. Now, obviously, we watched that Sioux City game last night, so I can't ask you about your prediction for that one. But I am curious, can you give us your predictions for today's games? You've got Wheelings Miners coming to Carolina today, and then you got the Colorado Spartans going to visit the Beef, the reigning champions.
Yes. So obviously, I got to go with the home team on the, Carolina Wheeling game. But I think it's going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be hard hitting. I think it's going to be just overall a really, really good game. But obviously, we're looking to put Wheeling in the 0-2 hole. And I think we've got the talent to do that. And as far as Colorado and Beef, a lot of people underestimate Fred Shaw. And I think that was, unfortunately, I think that was one of Wheeling's problems, was they underestimated and they were maybe focused too much on coming down to Carolina and not paying attention to what was in front of them. But that game's an up and down game, especially, since Omaha no longer has Tommy Armstrong. I mean, they still have a good quarterback there, but not what they had. So it's going to be a good game, but I wouldn't be surprised if Colorado doesn't pull that one out.
Yeah, honestly, Colorado came out firing this year, so I'm excited to see that. Colorado natives, so always rooting for the Spartans as well, but it will definitely be interesting to see exactly how that game goes as well. Any final thoughts, anything you want to say to fans? You want to shout out your social medias where people can follow you and kind of keep in touch with everything that Fangus Kahn's doing on game day?
So, like I said, tonight's game night, man. Greensboro Coliseum, 7 o'clock. Your Carolina Cobras start the best show on turf. Start our 2025 season on a road to a championship. And, as far as social media, Facebook and games, that's pretty much it.
Gotcha. So speaking of which, that's Brad Morelli on Facebook. Definitely check him out. Make sure to follow him. Keep up with everything he's got going on, because honestly, like I mentioned before, he's one of the most dedicated fans that are out there for the Cobras. I remember seeing you in the comments all the time when we were running the show for the Cobras. It seems like you're a little bit of everywhere when it comes to Cobras football.
Absolutely. And I love it. And I'm excited for game day today and to get the snake pit rocking.
Absolutely. Well, thank you once again, Brad, for tuning on or coming on today. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you're an NAL fan, make sure you hit that like button. And then also go Cobras. Looking forward to you guys getting a W today.
Luck on the season.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Have a great rest of your day, Brad. And thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're going to transition over to the IFL next. But before we do, quick word from our sponsors. All right, so if you guys aren't aware, we are joined by the Golden Driller, the Tulsa Oilers super fan himself. How are you doing this morning?
Man, I am doing incredible. Thank you for asking. How are you guys?
Doing great. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
Of course. TJ, you want to kick us off again?
Yeah. What first got you not only into, the arena indoor game, but then also what led you to deciding, I'm going to become a super fan for this team?
I mean, honestly, I have been the funny thing is I never really followed the indoor / arena game until Tulsa got a team. So I had a lot to learn from the process from what rules separate this from college or NFL or different things like that. But as for what led me to become a super fan for this team. I mean, I always tell people it's 2 reasons: the community and the people. I mean, because this city's on the rise. This state's on the rise. It's a football town. It's a football state. And I mean, as for the people aspect of things, I mean, you never know. Somebody could be having the worst day of their life before going through those stadium doors. That's where your boy comes in. I mean, it's like, whether it's just having a conversation with the people or just putting the 1 and 104, my section, getting the building hyped up and everything. I mean, honestly, I think it was more just the fact that, I mean, this is my home. And I mean, I take a lot of pride in living here. I do. So, I mean, that's just kind of the biggest thing and biggest part about it. So
that's awesome.
That is awesome. So you kind of mentioned there that there was a little bit of a lead up into you joining the IFL fan ranks. So
correct.
For you, this is more, you have your home team. That's kind of what launched your fandom.
Absolutely. Yeah. Whenever the moment I learned we got the Tulsa team in the IFL, I was like, this is a good opportunity for me. Cause I've seen super fans on TV before. I mean, I've seen super fans in the NFL, especially with like the Raiders, the Packers, the Colts, pretty much every single NFL team that exists. They're going to have a super fan. So it's like, honestly, I think there was no better time than to join the Oiler bandwagon, especially since I've lived here my whole life. And the moment we got that team, I was like, okay, this is my time. So, and I mean, honestly, I share the spotlight with so many people. So, I mean, it's not just my work at all. So, I mean, yeah, that's the biggest part.
Absolutely. TJ, you got any more questions?
Yeah, during games, do you go around interacting with fans and getting everyone hyped up, or do you kind of keep in your own section, or what's your game day process?
Absolutely. So, essentially, the first one. Again, this is all about the people you serve. I mean, like, it's if you are interacting with the fans, then what are you doing? I mean, this is the community we're speaking of. I mean, this is like the lifeblood of this town and the community you represent. So it's like, I mean, anytime you have that kind of like ability to interact with fans, take pictures with them, get kids excited for a game. I mean, I used to have a chain I rocked, like a little Oiler foam chain. I gave that away to some kid because he was like, he wouldn't stop staring at it for the entire game. So I'm like, I don't need this. Like, I can easily get another one. Here you go. Like, I mean, I want to get kids and everybody excited for IFL. I mean, it's not the first league you think of when you come for football, but I mean, that's the point. It's like you kind of have to get them excited. And I mean, that's kind of funny to say, even though we have like one of the biggest attendances in the IFL. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I want people to be excited to come to the BOK Center and watch a game. I'm like the unofficial mascot in a way. So I mean, and I take great pride in that.
That's awesome. So I mean, you can kind of familiarize me with this because I'm not really aware. Do the Tulsa Oilers have a mascot?
They actually have 2. Because the Oilers hockey team that we share an arena with, they have Sledge, and the Oilers indoor football team, we have Goldie. To kind of better match our team colors and everything. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically it.
Gotcha. Interesting. So that's definitely something I was not aware of prior to this. So I appreciate you kind of filling me in on that. I mean, I kind of wanted to ask you, we talked about it a little off camera before you came on. There's been a little bit of a transition with Tulsa this season. A lot of people have been calling them, Frisco Fighters, East, West, like whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of transition in terms of adding Andre Coles as your offensive coordinator and assistant head coach, bringing in TJ Edwards as your quarterback, Faison McClurge. I believe you guys also got Cole Blackman, if I'm not mistaken. And I know I'm missing a couple guys. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts on all these Fighters players coming over after the news that their team has kind of gone dormant?
Well, I mean, honestly, I'm not upset at it. I mean, like, I mean, if you think about it geographically speaking, Frisco's the closest IFL team besides Tulsa. So it's like they don't have to travel far to go get a job at an IFL team. And I mean, honestly, I kind of embrace the role as the kind of the fighter's villain. I mean, I kind of embrace the role as the kind of villain because I mean, we're stealing players. I mean, no cap about it. I mean, like we're doing it, and I mean, it's not like they were stealing every single one of them. You know what I mean? Like that's more just offense. I mean, I think our defense is actually going to be pretty stout, like it was last year. I think it's more the offensive side of the ball that's going to be having all these like different fighters coming from the Frisco, Texas. So I mean, I embrace the role. I embrace it.
I love it. Love it. Definitely a lot of good players coming over. In my opinion, TJ Edwards is one of the most exciting players in any indoor football league to watch.
Yeah, as someone who's played against him, not myself, but I mean, as a fan of the team who has played against him, he is such an exciting talent, and I think honestly, I cannot wait to see him in that black and gold. So I'm really excited to see what happens with TJ and everybody.
Definitely. Speaking of TJ, do you have any more questions?
Yeah, perfect interlude to my next question. With the addition of TJ Edwards and all these players from Frisco, Frisco obviously was always very successful in the regular season, not so much in the postseason, but how much has all this player acquisition kind of raised the bar or expectation for the Tulsa team this season?
I mean, I'm in a group chat with a bunch of Oiler fans and on Facebook, and they all seem to have the same mindset: championship or bust. I mean, we'll support the team no matter what. I mean, this is obviously, again, this is our hometown space. But I mean, with the team that we support, with the team that we are diehards for, it's like we want them to succeed, obviously. So it's like, I mean, we think, honestly, this is a championship caliber team. Myself, I do think it can be capable of really, really big things in this league. I think we can genuinely make ripple waves. So, I mean, honestly, I do think that the Oilers will come short of the championship this year, but I do think this is a big-time step in the right direction if you're Tulsa. So, honestly, yeah, I honestly see us going at least to the Eastern Conference Final. So, I'm a realistic Oiler fan, so if I offended anyone, I'm sorry. I don't know, man. I speak from historical purposes, so...
That makes sense.
Hey, making the conference finals isn't a bad season either, you know?
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. So, I mean, yeah, we'll only time will tell.
Agreed. So we got a question in the chat here. Is the Golden Driller a Chili Bowl reference?
Actually, no. Essentially, I got the Golden Driller idea from here in Tulsa, actually. We have a gigantic statue over near the Tulsa Fairgrounds, and it's basically a giant oil driller statue. I mean, they call it the Golden Driller actually because I mean, here in Oklahoma, we were the oil capital of the world basically, and that's where I kind of got my idea. I have the shoulder pads, the Oiler hard hat here, America, and yeah, I mean, I kind of got the idea from just the statue and like kind of like being like this larger than life superfan figure. Kind of like he is. I mean, the Golden Driller, I mean, he's a very historical landmark for the city and the state. So, I mean, that's kind of where I got the idea from. So, no, it is not a Chili Bowl reference.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I know Wookie. I'm just being an idiot toward him. That's all.
Wookie's great. One of
I love him. God bless him.
And honestly, great dude. Speaking of which, check out his YouTube channel. He does a lot of car related videos. Drives some really, excuse my language, badass cars. I'm a car guy. Love his channel. He's driven awesome. A lot of really, really cool stuff. Honestly, super jealous of his channel. In another lifetime, I may have pivoted that direction, but here we are talking some football. So, TJ, do you have any more questions for him?
No, I just want to say that story about the Golden Driller statue was awesome. You're definitely really in tune with the community, and you have a lot of pride, and it's really awesome to see, man. Thanks for being a super fan and helping this league out.
Appreciate you, man. Yeah, thank you guys again for having me on. I mean, all I can ask for as a super fan, as I said before coming on air here, is simply just using my platform for good. I mean, like, as someone who is on the autism spectrum for one thing, and someone who is very, very outgoing and fun for the most part, I mean, it makes a difference to see all the other kids out there who are like wanting to be like this person or wanting to be like this. I want to be a voice for them. I want to be the voice of the voiceless for especially the kids, because they're our future. They're our future, the future of this generation, the future of this world. So it's like, I mean, but yeah, that's the biggest part of it, is just being kind of a larger than life figure, but using your platform for the best of purposes. So that's the biggest part it is for me anyway. So
I think you do that quite well. I was trying to pull up the pictures. I apologize. I did not prepare when it comes to the
no,
pictures
you're
you sent me.
fine. Don't worry about it.
But it looks like you have a good rapport with the kids at games. And, honestly, I was very excited to see that because, like you mentioned, the kids are the next generation of indoor football fans. And if
Absolutely.
they get invested, typically that's how the parents get invested. So
Yeah.
I know when I brought my 12-year-old to a Colorado Spartans game this past season, he loved it. And he was so much more excited about that kind of football than he is watching my Eagles on TV or anything like that, because he can go participate, he can be a part of it. So
Yeah.
I'm curious, like when on a typical game day, other than like meeting and greeting the fans and stuff like that, how are you trying to interact, get the kids invested, stuff like that, without crossing any lines with parents? Because I'm sure that can be kind of a touchy subject at times.
Definitely, yeah, and that's a very good question. I mean, well, I kind of touched on it earlier. I mean, like I had a chain that I gave to a kid who wanted it, and I also had a Oilers cowbell, like and that I was like, I don't need this. I can use my voice, my grown man voice. So I gave that over to a kid, and I told him, hey, you do it like this, and he's like, thank you. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, it's all just about interacting, and I mean, obviously the besides interacting, the main thing is like, well, we held a tailgate over across from the BOK Center. We're actually moving it over this year. Side note, but the tailgate that we do, we always get people, especially from opposing fan bases in here. Like I remember we played the San Diego Strike Force last year. We had a bunch of fans of theirs come through, and yeah, it's all just about making it a welcoming environment for not just the people who wear your colors, but the people from all sorts of different colors and other fan bases and everything. So it's like, yeah, the biggest thing is interacting. But when I'm not interacting, I try to get people involved just by doing my job, hyping the fans up, getting myself on the Jumbotron, and just being a face, because sometimes that's all someone needs to get involved in doing their own thing. Just that kind of voice telling them, hey, I can do that. So I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, just being kind of a platform and using that for good, and using it to kind of build upon your fan base and build up every other fan base. So that's the biggest part of it.
Definitely agree. So I'm curious, like you talked about being in a Tulsa Oilers fan group chat. Is there like a street team for the Oilers, or an unofficial street team, I guess, given all the fans that you're talking about? Or are you guys just kind of friends who have kind of grown into Tulsa Oiler fans, or how did that come about?
Essentially, that was more just just locals here in the area, just wanted to come together and support the team. I mean, like I said, Tulsa is a football town. It just is. So I mean, anytime we have like a team like that, and we always get behind it. So I mean, it's like, well, anytime we have that, we have to show up and show out like we always do. And I mean, you've seen it with attendance numbers, you've seen it with like different things with like different kind of fan support we've had, especially over social media. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it more just came about from just locals trying to get into their team, trying to get involved in indoor football. That's the biggest part of it.
I love it. Any final thoughts for fans out there? Where can they find you on social media as well?
Absolutely. My advice, I'll say this. My advice to any football fan or wanting to become a super fan, it's not about the costume. It's about the people you serve. And remember, don't give up. Follow your dreams. I know it sounds cliche. I'm not John Cena, but follow your dreams, man. That's what it's all about. And as for social media, you can always find me on Instagram, Facebook, at Project Superfan. Because I support multiple teams, not indoor. I'm Tulsa, but I mean, for all sorts of other teams like UFL, NFL, college, find me on social media at Project Superfan. And yeah, I'll see you guys there, and I'll see you guys at the BOK, hopefully.
Definitely. Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. Look
Thank you
forward to
guys
having you
so much.
on again in the future. And we'll definitely be checking in with you throughout the season if you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely. I love that. Yeah. Thank you guys again for having me on. This is, again, platform for good. So thank you guys again for having me on. Seriously, it is a pleasure to meet you two gentlemen as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure to meet you
And
as
like
well.
I said, we'll definitely keep in touch and have you back on in the future. Really appreciate your time this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
All right. Go Oilers. We'll see them next
Go
week.
Oilers. Yes, sir. Go Oilers.
All right. Talk to you later, buddy. TJ, I know you need to get out of here, man. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Have a great rest of your day, and look forward to talking to you next week, buddy.
Yeah, and I wish I could say it was something super, cool and everything, but parent duties call. So, but it was great talking to some of the super fans, and to the ones coming up. Sorry, I'm not going to get to meet you, but thank you again for making this this overall sport better.
Absolutely. And parenting duty is super fun. I mean, so don't sell yourself short there, buddy. You're doing a great thing, being there for your kids. So that's important. But really appreciate your time this morning. Hope you have a great time, and we'll definitely see you next week.
Oh, yeah, definitely, man. Have a good week, and I'll see everyone next week.
All right. Talk to you later, buddy. We're going to hit a commercial real quick, and then we will be back with Adam and Albany defense kid, someone that most people who followed the AFL or the Albany Firebirds and Empire know well.
I'm just being myself, cool as can be. When I'm being myself, you wish you were me.
It's so easy. Get out your own way.
It's just so easy.
A lot of WWE references today. I love it. Love it. So, Adam, I don't want to butcher your last name, so do you mind introducing yourself?
It's Adam Garrigues.
Garrigues. Okay. I definitely would have guessed that, but, I should have asked you that while we're off camera. Adam and I came in touch, I think, a little over 2 years ago, if I remember correctly. We have kind of talked offline for quite a while at this point. Honestly, I'm really disappointed in myself that it's taken this long to get you on, because you were one of the first super fans that I met when it came to this sport, thanks to our role with the Billings Outlaws a couple of years ago. So really excited to get you on this morning. Thank you so much for your time. And then, as I mentioned in the lead up just a second ago, Albany defense kid, something of a little bit of a celebrity when it comes to the Albany fan base, whether it's the Firewolves, the Firebirds, the Empire before that. So why don't you kind of give us a quick introduction into your fandom and what brought you here today?
Yeah, no, I'm a huge super fan for, I guess, the Albany arena teams, as I like to say it, even though I'm not really big on like all the other sports, but just because they're at the arena, that's why I go there. But I wasn't initially like a big fan at first. It was like, it would have been around when I started This Week in Arena Ball with the like 21 around then, where I started like actually become this huge fan and bring in the defense signs, which I have here with me. So, I was around the championship actually when I first started that. So it would have probably been 21 for the championship against Columbus. That would have been when it really started. But ever since then, it's been, I guess, dedication to the teams. And, this comes after being a season ticket holder for 7-8 years now for at least the Empire and Firebirds. So
that's amazing. That's amazing. Adam, when did you first become a Billings fan, and how did your super fandom kind of kick off?
Actually, it was back when we had the IFL team with the Billings Wolves, which was about 5-6 years ago, if I remember correctly. And then they disbanded, unfortunately, and then the Outlaws came back. And I'd gone to a few games back in the early 2000s. Wasn't really into it for some reason. I was kind of like a purist back then. Football was supposed to be played on a big field, and and stuff like that. but watching the Wolves, that got me hooked. And then when the Outlaws came back, it was like, what can I do to promote this team? Because football is football, and it brings a lot of people together. And I just enjoy the game. I used to play as a kid, and never was at the talent level that these guys are, but just love the game.
Completely understand that. I'm also not really an athlete at this point in my career, if you can call it that, but definitely played football when I was younger, and that's kind of what brings me here today as well. So, so you mentioned the Wolves. Tell me a little bit about what really kind of drew you in when you were, experiencing your first Wolves game.
It was basically the speed. I won tickets. I won season tickets, and we were front row, and it was like you get that first player catching a ball and crashing the wall right in front of you. That adrenaline rush, the crowd just goes wild, and yeah, that's the one thing I really enjoy is watching these guys, do amazing catches or run through the line like no other. And yeah, it's the speed of the game that really gets me going.
I completely agree. That's what in my mind, drew me into the indoor football game. It's just a whole different speed. You think outdoor football is quick, or you think any other sport's quick. This is as quick as it gets, indoor football. Albany defense kid, when you kind of look back on your time as a super fan, what really got you going, and what really kind of drew you into the Firebirds and ultimately the Empire as well?
I think it would have to be it would have to be something similar, or I don't know what I'm saying, but it would have to be, I guess, from what my grandpa used to do, because I've done a lot of things relating to sports that he used to do. Like, because around Albany, he's one of the best PA announcers in the area. I mean, he was like St. Rose, the college St. Rose PA announcer for decades. And he's done a lot of other sports. He's done a lot of announcing. And then he also worked in a lot of the sports teams. He worked for the Firebirds and the Conquest. And then, so a lot of things, like when it comes to me announcing like games for my high school and calling the games for like football, and then him also doing the defense in the 90s, it's kind of like, I guess, following in his footsteps a little bit, because he's just, I guess, a great influence in my life.
That's amazing. So for you, the super fandom is kind of a generational thing.
Yes.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I love to hear that. I'm big on kind of trying to bring that to my kids as well. So I'm glad to hear that your grandfather kind of passed that down to you as well. And honestly, sounds like he's a little bit of a legend in his own right in Albany.
Yeah, he is.
Definitely. I love to hear you kind of carrying on that legacy for him. So let's address the elephant in the room, which of course is the 2024 championship in the AFL. I'm actually wearing my Arena Bowl hoodie. So these two teams, the Albany Firebirds and the Billings Outlaws, met in Arena Bowl 33. So it was kind of not by design. It's just sort of how it happened. Let's talk about the game. I mean, obviously there's two different perspectives to this game, so I'll go to Adam first. How was your experience?
Oh, they've killed him. And he's gone.
Uh-oh. The host is gone.
Improvise.
Well, my experience at the game, I'll see what we can do here. I did fly out of Billings last minute kind of thing to go to the game. It was an amazing experience. I know online there was a lot of haters saying, "Oh, it's in a mall. It's in a mall." Yeah, it was in a mall, and that was a pretty cool venue for me. I don't know that I saw the defense kid, but
Oh, I would have. Well, it depends on like what section you were in, I guess. There was,
we were just.
was it like first, second, or third floor? Because I was
I was
on
I was on the floor, and we were
Yeah.
kind of like a section across from the players.
I
we were on the Firebirds
yeah,
side.
you would have been on the other side. I would have been where the TV cameras were. I would have been across from the TV cameras, and it would have been like you would have seen me on TV for sure.
Yeah, because I was on the one end zone. Basically, there's
Yeah, it
a
was
bunch
like
of the
the
Billings people were down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very good game. I thought it was a hard fought battle. I know there's a few Firebirds fans that came up to me after the game and weren't pleased with the game. I just told them, hey, you guys just fought hard. I mean, that was a hard fought game. There's a lot of injuries that went happening. I know we lost a couple defensive players, but yeah, in the end we did prevail, and so be it. We have bragging rights for the year.
That is very true. So I guess for me it's a little bit different because I didn't really think of the mall as like a bad venue, even though it really was a bad venue, because I was on the bleachers and there was like no room. So I just stood for the entire game pretty much.
Yeah.
And then like I was just walking around the mall and it was just too big for like someone who's like the mall by them is like a way smaller. So it's like, ooh, I don't like it. And it's 3 stories? No. Like it was just, I guess, wild to be in that championship game because I was there. And I mean, I did say beforehand that I did not think Albany was the better team at that point, especially after the Week 9 game. It was just how Billings played. It was like, because they played slower than Albany, right? Albany's was, I guess, stereotypical arena football, high-scoring team, while Billings was still more of that indoor team, even though, like, they were like they had Ced Bonner at OC and Cedric Walker at head coach, but I think that's really what made me like think that I didn't think we had the best shot. And also the fact that Jake Medlock was our quarterback. I've said enough about him. And I don't like him. He was cool in the beginning because he scored a lot of touchdowns, but later in the year, it's just like you've got to throw the football, Mr. Medlock. Come on. It's like that was kind of frustrating. And the fact that we didn't have a backup quarterback because Lewandowski was just not dressed and they had to put Medlock out there still while he was hurt is just absurd. And the fact that we still, because of the rosters, I guess we'll get to that later, but they still have no backup kicker for Henry Nell. So if they get hurt, it's going to be similar to Roscoe last year, who was always hurt. Like every year he had an injury. So, I mean, it's just kind of that risk that they take, but I still feel like they need to work on a lot of things to, I guess, win the Arena Bowl this year. But, you know, overall, I'd say the game was all right.
Sorry about that, fellas. My kid decided to unplug my computer while we were live there, so I apologize. But thank you for keeping that rolling. I appreciate it, and glad that we had you on Defense Kid so you could kind of co-host and keep that rolling. Adam, I wanted to get your thoughts. This past offseason, we heard that Cedric Bonner was leaving the Billings Outlaws after a championship season that saw him win Assistant Coach of the Year. And now heading into 2025, the Billings Outlaws have added kind of another prominent name in the indoor football world, or arena football world, Randy Hippert, who was the quarterback of the Nashville Cats last season at the end of the season. What are your thoughts on this change at offensive coordinator?
Well, actually, I went to practice. They had an open practice Saturday last week, and I went to that and was watching. And the offense looks good. Not as good without D Brown. Thank you, Firebirds, for taking him off our hands. Yeah, not happy about that. But it looks like they're clicking. Still a bit of progress to be made. With I'm sure by the end of the I think it's 11-game stretch that we have without a break, they should be able to get some things worked out. It's going to be interesting to see. When I didn't see Bonner on the list, it was like, what's going to happen now? So it's going to be a mystery, I think. I'm going to keep a positive outlook on this. But how most super fans are, they'll speak the truth about their team. I am concerned since we don't have a lot of returning players. But I'm sure Coach Walker, he's meticulous on detail. And I'm sure he'll have the guys ready to play. And it's going to be a good season, I believe. I think we'll have a winning record. I want another championship, but we all know how hard that is to go back to back. So
Completely agree. Albany defense kid, you guys have had some turnover on the Firebirds as well, including a former Empire quarterback returning to the team, Sam Castronova. Honestly, in my opinion, one of the best indoor football quarterbacks regardless of league. So how do you feel about Castronova returning to the team?
Oh, I already said my feelings about Jake Medlock. 100% improvement on that regard. I mean, I've seen Sam Castronova play. He is legendary. And I wish we could have seen what would have happened in 23 if, that man did not ruin the team. But he is just phenomenal quarterback. His season in San Antonio last year, I don't care if there was like 10 more games or 9 more games, I think, in the IFL. It's like an 18-game season. But he was just phenomenal with San Antonio under his former head coach, Tom Manas, who I don't know what happened with him, but I'm happy he's doing stuff still. And very excited that he's back because he's the quarterback we need to win a championship. Now I'm saying that right now.
I completely agree. I think, as I just mentioned, he's one of the better quarterbacks in any league. He's mobile enough to run the ball when needed. He's accurate as a passer. I think he set IFL records last season, if I'm not mistaken. So just a great passer, a great quarterback overall, especially in this game that requires a lot of mobility and escapability in the pocket. Now, jumping back over to Adam, I'm not sure if you've seen this news yet, so I wanted to get your idea or your thoughts on this, and this was one question that I did not put in our document, so I apologize if you were not prepared for this, but Cedric Bonner, your former offensive coordinator, is going to be on the call for Vice TV this season. What are your thoughts on him returning back to the booth and as an analyst for arena football this season?
Well, that is news to me. So, hey, as much as he knows the game, I'm sure he'll do a fantastic job. The way I saw a little bit of his back in the playing days. I saw some film on that. I like to research everybody when they come to the team to a point, and I think he'll do fine. He will do a great job for those guys.
Honestly, I'm very excited about the broadcast team. Ari Wolf, a long-time arena football broadcaster, actually was once the play-by-play guy for the Albany Firebirds back in the original AFL. Then went to the Philadelphia Soul for a little while there. Worked with CBS Sports, ESPN, NFL Network. He's called arena football games for literally up to 3 decades at this point. Then you've got Seth Bonner, former Arena football quarterback, very recently won a championship as an Arena football offensive coordinator. He's been in the broadcast booth for many years, won an Emmy at one point. And then Sofia Gutierrez is the sideline reporter. She's got a long history of doing great things on the content creation side, especially with sideline interviews and just athlete interviews in general on her own platform. So super excited about the group that they've gotten together for Vice TV, and I'm excited to see how that comes together this weekend, actually. So definitely make sure you're all prepared. Go get your YouTube TV membership set up, or however you need to do that. Vice TV looks like they've got a good group this season. Sticking with Adam for this question, then we'll go back over to Albany defense, kid. You've also had some transition, as you mentioned before. A lot of guys have not returned to the team. They've gone to other pastures, whether that's Albany or teams throughout the league, or into retirement, such as your quarterback. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the new quarterback that just came over from the Orlando Predators and the wide receiver he brought with him, Andre Sale and Alexis Rosario, who both came over from Tulsa, actually. So kind of a weird little world we live in here where they all jump around leagues. So what are your thoughts on those guys coming over and how they can kind of improve Billings looking into 2025?
Well, I was looking at the highlights from the 23 season in Tulsa or 24 season. And the chemistry there is pretty darn good. It looks like we can take the top off of defense pretty easily. With the other guys we've got on the team, I think that's going to be like I said, there's needs to be some clicking going on. I need to get some gel going on there, but this is going to be there's where my most optimism is coming from, is that duo right there. They look pretty quick. They look like they're always on the same page. The few routes that they ran during practice last week, it was exciting for me to see that, and having them on the team is going to be fun to watch.
Definitely excited to see what they can do. Really disappointed in how everything unfolded for Orlando, but that's a subject for another day. Moving back over to Albany defense, kid, we kind of talked about the attrition, the differences at quarterback, et cetera, et cetera. I'm curious overall, other than the championship prediction you just gave us, how do you feel about some of the transitions that you've seen for Albany, some of the guys coming over from other teams in the league?
They're definitely going to help us, but it depends on things like our wide receiver room. We've got arguably a better wide receiver core than we did last year. And that's with Darius Prince, and that's with Daquan Patton, that's with all these guys. We already have 3 returning players, even Isaiah Scott counts because he was on that Arena Bowl runner-up team. Duke Williams, I didn't hear about him. I didn't know who he was because, I only care about the guys that play Arena football. Apparently, he's good. Hey, okay. And then we got, who's the 5th guy? Oh, Dwayne Brown. And, that's just me forgetting it. But, it just kind of worries me how they're going to rotate the wide receiving room. Like, how are they going to slot in certain receivers? And, Darian Townsend's a captain now, which I'm pretty sure that's correct. So I'm like, hey, I like him. Good for him. But it depends on who's going to be with him. Like Markell, is it going to be Isaiah Scott? Is it going to be Dwayne Brown? Is it going to be Duke Williams? There's so much, I guess, core in that kind of worries me a bit, even though it really shouldn't. Defensively, I don't really know defensively. Maybe just because I'll just check the roster really quick. I don't really remember who's on the defense or O-line, whatever. But, there's also kind of a worry with the players that we lost out, too. Like, Mark Orozco isn't back. I don't know why that's the case, but I'm guessing it's, because of this, working, papers or stuff, because that's been an issue they've had before. Because I don't think he lives in the U.S., but I'm not sure. Again, I'm just remembering when I remembered, I guess. Nick Hague not coming back makes sense because he's getting old, but I feel like he's such a fan favorite that it might hurt us. Dwayne Hollis not being your defensive coordinator and actually playing now again. That's another, I guess, turnover that I wish didn't happen, which I'm guessing is what led to Darius Prince again leaving, going to Corpus Christi with Hollis Island following him. But I guess that's also a worry because that's a lot of fan favorites gone. It's going to be a new era. It's going to be changes. Defensively, checking the roster now, there really isn't anything that comes out the mind. It just looks, I feel like the defense has kind of changed a lot every year. Like it's normally like there's always the handful of guys that stay on, like Cisse before Hague, Shravon, but it's mainly the offense that's remained stagnant. But there's been a lot of changes, and that's kind of worrying, especially with all the rumors out there with certain players, which I don't think I'm going to get into, and like how they were, I guess, treated. I'm not saying that anything's happening, rumors, but I guess it's that kind of worry. But I still feel like the team is going to be good this year, even with all the like former players going to different places or not coming back. I guess that's it.
That is perfectly fair. So I didn't do this with Hayden because the games haven't started for the IFL yet, but I wanted to get your guys' predictions on this weekend's games for the AF1. So give me just a second, let those games get pulled up. Off the top of my head, I believe it's Billings versus Oregon, Washington versus Southwest Kansas. And then you also have Corpus Christi versus Salina, if I remember correctly. So I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on that one. Adam, we'll go to you first, and then we will bounce back over to Albany defense.
What were you saying? My mom called me. I didn't know what you're talking about.
We're going to get your predictions. We'll go to
right.
Adam first, and
Go
then
ahead.
you go ahead and jump back over.
Well, of course, Billings. There'll be 49-35 will be the winning score there. Salina definitely over Corpus Christi. We all know how Prince got those great hands, especially in the championship game when he dropped, I think, 3 touchdown passes. Little dig there. I got to, bro. I got to. And then what was the other game? I apologize.
It was Washington and Southwest Kansas in Washington, by the way.
I'm going to have to go with Southwest Kansas on that one. They look pretty impressive. So those would be my 3.
Awesome. I appreciate that. We'll jump over to Albany defense, kid. What are your predictions for this upcoming week of football?
I don't know if I'm going to rattle off all the leagues because I know I've been doing that last week, but I'll start off with the F1 because that's what we're talking about. Let's see. First game is Billings, Oregon. Oh, I'm Billings. No way. I mean, Oregon is just, it feels weak to like. There's not really names that jump off the page. And they're playing the defending champions. It's got to be Billings. Not going to give a score, but it's definitely Billings. I remain confident in that. Salina, Corpus Christi, it's going to be close. I forget who's... Fred Payton's Corpus Christi's quarterback, right? I'm going to take the risk and go Corpus Christi. I feel like Darius Prince is just going to do some things that we expect from him. But I think it'll be a lot closer because of Salina. I feel like Salina is going to be a really good team this year. And then Southwest Kansas in Washington for the Feist game. Probably Southwest Kansas. I mean, that one's going to be close. I think that's going to be closer than a lot of people think, because Washington has a ton of returning players that are coming back. And I think they're up with Albany for most returning players. from what I've seen. So I think Southwest Kansas still wins, but Washington's obviously going to make it close because of the returning players. They've had that chemistry from last year, and it's going to be close. I'm just waiting for that. And I might as well just rattle off quickly the NAL games because I did that last week too. I'm going to go with Carolina because Wheeling played not that good. There's only 2 games. Okay. And then, go with Omaha. I don't think Colorado's got it, even with the win over Wheeling. I just don't feel like they're as good as people think, but I'll take the risk with Omaha. But, I mean, it's going to be close again because Omaha hasn't been playing that good. You expect them to blow out the expansion Shreveport, but, that's really it.
Definitely. Thanks for giving us the NAL as well. If you're a fan watching right now and you want to give us your predictions, drop them in the chat. I will keep track of your predictions as well. So far, as it stands, after our first week of football last week, Chad Roland, one of the co-hosts here at Shady Sports, is leading the way with a 4-1 record. And then I believe we have a couple different people tied at 3-2 and a couple guys at 2-3. So definitely looking forward to seeing how that list shapes up. And we will kind of keep track of that as we go. I lied. Trey is technically 1-0, but he he declined to pick the NAL games, which is fair. He's more of an AF1 and IFL fan. So we'll definitely continue to get his picks as the season goes on as well. And we'll kind of keep that running list. So I appreciate you guys both giving your predictions. Before we get out of here, is there any last thoughts or words that you want to give the fans? We'll go to Adam first on this one.
Just come out and support your team. It doesn't matter, what team it is. Just get out there and support them. If Defense Kid comes to Billings for the Billings game, we'll go and have lunch or something before the game and have some fun.
I love that. Definitely no reason to be have any animosity between fans. It's all fun and games at the end of the day. Realistically, these guys are playing a child's game for money. So we kind of allow our fandom to get in the way of friendship sometimes. But this sounds like we got a little bit of a budding friendship here. So,
for me,
Albany
it's in between the whistles. I hate everybody that ain't black and blue. And on the end of the whistles, hey, we're best friends again. That's what football is all about. You hate the people on the field while they're playing, but afterwards, I always wish, when we get down on the field, I always go to the opposing players and wish them, the best of luck and a safe travels home. And to me, you can talk as much trash as you want, but you got to be respectful about it.
Yeah.
Man, that is a
Absolutely.
message I wish more fans would live by. We've heard a lot of things with the NFL as of late that are just saddening. And, I think that's one thing that the arena football has going for it is a lot of fans realize this is just a game at the end of the day. So definitely no sense in having, like I said, any animosity between fans or players at the end of the day, which is tough sometimes. So moving on to Albany Defense Kid, what are your final thoughts today?
Again, I would say support the teams around here. If you have a local team, support them. I still strongly believe that Albany arena football fans are the best in arena football. I mean, maybe Arizona compares, Iowa compares. There's nothing like Arena Town. And I don't know how the Billings crowds are because I don't really remember it for good reason. And when you go to a game in Albany, and especially next week, I'm already starting to feel it, but there's something different when it gets to the first week and it gets to arena football season that for lacrosse, you just don't get. There's just some feeling about it that makes these games better. It's the fans, it's the atmosphere. It's just an incredible environment, and you should support them. And hell, even the Firewolves, they're starting to fill out sections for this week's game today. They're actually getting sold out sections, including the one I normally sit in for arena football. So, I mean, it's going to be electric regardless of the sport it is, whether it be lacrosse or arena football, and you just got to support them. You got to stick with them even through I guess, adversity with the league and drama and all that stuff, because that's what we've been doing for the past 3 years. Even now, like, the league is still on shaky footing, and you've just got to live with it. We have one of the best groups in the business. We have arguably the best team in the business, so you just got to support them, and you got to roll with them.
Definitely agree. Actually, two of the stronger ownership groups right here represented. So kudos to both of those teams that have really done a great job of building a great foundation for both teams. I can honestly sit here and say I have zero doubts about both of these franchises being here for many, many years to come because honestly, two of the best ownership groups, and regardless of league, really. So real quick, before we get out of here, I wanted to ask you guys both one last question. And if you don't feel comfortable talking about this, that's perfectly okay. I'm curious what you guys pay for season tickets. So we'll go to Adam first on this one. What did you guys pay for your season tickets with Billings?
I'm front row on the 10-yard line. It was, if I remember correctly, right around $248 for the season. So it's less than $50 a game.
Very nice.
As long as you don't count the convenience fee, which, well, that's a total different subject for me. But anyways.
Yeah, completely understand.
But yeah, no, that there's different tiers. I think this front row is like $249, I believe it is, and then it's like $235 for the next couple rows up, and it just all the way up to fill in the bottom of our arena is roughly, I think, $215 for the season per seat.
That's not bad at all, especially if you figure 12 games. I mean, that's a pretty good deal, honestly.
Well, yeah, if you go out to dinner with your wife or significant other or whatever and have a few drinks, I mean, you're spending double that.
Yeah, realistically, that's very, very accurate. And then we'll go over to Albany defense, kid. Again, if you don't feel comfortable talking about it, that's perfectly okay. But what did you spend on season tickets?
Well, let's see, it's per ticket, right? So we got like 4 tickets or 4 or 5. We have the entire row. We sit section 116, the GOAT section, the super fan section, as I like to call it. That corner where I'm in, best corner with all the fun fans and stuff. But so that was in the blue zone, which is technically like behind the nets, that area. But even though I'm in like the front row in that area, you get a great view of the field, paying $140 for the season for a ticket.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that was last year too, and I'm like, what? This is one of the best seats in like the entire arena because it's like right by the replay review. Like, you get a great view over the field, and it's $140 per season. Like, I mean, I get it's a lot more with the extra tickets, but because I have like my grandma, my grandpa, my dad with me, but that is really good. And I mean, there's a lot of other sections like the orange. We sat there for 1 year, 105. That's like middle of the field. That's where my grandpa and grandma used to be. But like where I sit, it's one of the best views in the building. I could say that with all honesty.
That is awesome. So, honestly, I asked because I wanted fans to have an idea. I mean, you could basically go to one NFL game, or you can go to an entire season of arena football for virtually the same cost. So, if you have a local team, even if you're not really a huge arena football fan yet, go support them. Go check them out. Go check out a game. I mean, at least go see one. I guarantee that you will be pleasantly surprised by the amount of action on the field. You'll be pleasantly surprised by the access to the athletes after the game to sign whatever, really. I've seen them sign people's body parts. I've seen them sign jerseys, cards, basically anything you ask them to sign. They're always taking pictures with the kids, everything that is just the best parts of the sport, realistically, and what made me a fan of arena football. So I wanted to throw that out there because I think both of these franchises do a great job of making it affordable. That's a big reason why they see such good fan support. And, honestly, it's one of the best values for your buck in a very expensive day and age to be able to jump in and become a fan and really support your team. So really appreciate both you guys' time this morning. Definitely look forward to having you guys on in the future if we can make that work. I won't ask you to dress up next time. Thank you again, Adam, for doing your full get up, painting your face and everything first thing this morning. I know it's really early on your side of the world as well as mine. Albany defense kid, man, thank you for coming on again. I promise it will not be this long until the next time we invite you back on. I did not realize it had been quite this long since last time you were on, but we'll make it work again for sure. So thank you guys again. Really excited about this episode. I think it went really well. Looking forward to doing another Superfan Saturday down the pipeline. So if you guys tuned in, make sure you hit the like button no matter where you're watching, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, wherever it may be. Share this as well. If you have some arena football fans in your life, share this stream with them and get them on board, because we are, in my opinion, the best morning show in indoor football. And look at that. I love that belt. That is awesome. Awesome. So
I gotta show off the helmet now.
Hey, that's perfect. I love it. So on that note, we'll catch you guys next week, next Saturday, 8 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Mountain Time, 7 a.m. Central. And if you're in the Pacific time zone, you guys can catch the replay.
I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer.